Welcome back. The holidays are upon us, and with them a tendency to maybe indulge in the food and drink of the season. But for some, there could be risks for overindulging. And it's never too early or too late to develop healthy food habits. Joining us is Dr. Onika Williams. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Let's talk about holiday heart syndrome. It's defined as cardiac arrhythmias following a period of binge drinking that often happens during the holidays. According to the National Institute for Health, high blood pressure is a leading risk factor for heart attack and stroke. And what are some of the things that people should be thinking about, especially at this time of year?
Around this time of the year, certainly to be very mindful about the salt intake, because as we talk about eating and being able to enjoy the holidays, food is at the center of much of that. And so the things that are laden with salt, to be aware that those elevate the blood pressure, and in some people dangerously high. So be aware of the blood pressure. You've already mentioned things like over drinking and overindulging in alcohol. And to be also aware that the holidays are a very stressful time. We tend to not sleep well. We tend to get overly stressed about all of the things that we have to do. And so that contributes to elevated blood pressure. So having that awareness going into the holidays is going to be very critical.
Okay, now, Dr. Williams, you have an alter ego. You are the author of Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo's children book series. Let's take a look at this.
I am Dr. Onika Williams, urologic surgeon, author, and positivity catalyst. I am also the creator of Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo and the Island of Positivity. For the past 10 years, I have been building positive spaces to educate, elevate, and empower our children. My mission is to ignite imaginations and fill them with awe and wonder so that they believe that nothing is out of reach.
We've been really focusing on the last few years here at the Banneker of telling science in a story. So having this as a starting point for our space unit was really wonderful because they got that story and they were able to build on it in every aspect of every standard we had to cover.
Through the reading of the text, they're able to be engaged and excited about this great story about this young girl who looks like them and who wants to do the same things that they want to do, and she's out on these great adventures. But then there's also great moments of actual learning where they're able to pull out those facts.
It's a very positive, self-affirming series that doesn't just teach about science. It teaches about relationships. It teaches about fundamental behaviors. It teaches about when you're down and how to interact with one another. There's so many different components of it that are exciting that you can use anywhere.
It's increased proficiency for my students at every learning level.
Dr. Williams and your book encourages us to use our imagination to make our own planet.
When they see me and Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo, I want them to see themselves and to know that not even the sky is the limit.
Yay, Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo. Dr. Williams, what inspired you to create this series 10 years ago? And tell us more about who this Dee Dee Dynamo is.
Dee Dee Dynamo is a problem solver. She's a super surgeon. She's a leader. She's courageous. She has the characteristics that I would say represent these positive character strengths. And I was inspired 10 years ago to published the first book because I had been exposed to girls who didn't believe that they could be scientists, who didn't believe that they could do things that required brilliance. And for me, myself, growing up in the Caribbean and being told at age 14 that I couldn't do physics because it wasn't available to girls, we weren't very good at physics, it made me aware of the barriers that we face as girls in our society. And so that was the impetus of integrating what I love, this positive mindset, in addition to the science, the literacy. My mom's a science teacher, my dad is a journalist, so all the things that are a part of who I am, I have poured into Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo to be the real agent of changing the way our kids think.
Now, how many books are there now in the series?
There are about 13 books in the series.
That's fantastic. Now, the latest one, Dr. Dee Dee Dynamo and the Hypertension Takedown, addresses exactly what we're talking about today, heart condition. So tell us what happens in the story.
Well, what happens in the story is the community is getting ready to have a wonderful Island of Positivity beach party. And Grandma B has been cooking all night. And as they're inquiring where Grandma B is, Dr. Didi gets the alarm from her Gordon the Gullible Globe, who generally has these sensitive ears that alert her whenever there is anything awry in the universe. And so he sounds this alarm to Grandma B. Her organs are complaining. The brain is feeling as if it's being pounded. The eyes feel blurry. The heart is complaining that it's hurting. And the kidneys are just lamenting that it can't take it anymore. And so she says, wow, it must be this monster hypertension that is ravaging Grandma B's body again and is on the attack. So they swoop in with the team in order to help Grandma B. And sure enough, they see Madam Sodium is sitting on the mac and cheese, and Grandma B has been sampling the mac and cheese and the other things that she has cooked that has a pretty good representation of sodium, in addition to which Grandma B said she had been feeling okay, so she had not taken her medication because it sometimes makes her dizzy, and so she didn't want to take it. A very common complaint that patients will
That's happened
reference.
to my mother when she hasn't taken it. We had to, Mom, you have to take it every day. Now, you know, you mentioned the family meal. Dee Dee's actually looking forward to eating some of Grandma's mac and cheese. It's a holiday favorite for many of us. What does Dee Dee learn that we can apply in our lives?
Well, what she learns, first of all, is the importance of having a way to detect this hypertension. Because when we think about the statistics, 1 in 4 people who have high blood pressure in this country, only 1 in 4 are aware that they have it and are being treated. So 75% of people who walk around with high blood pressure don't actually know that they have it, which is why it's called the silent killer. So the first thing she wants to communicate is that we need to be checking our blood pressures as families, as part of a day-to-day activity. Second, she learns that it's okay to enjoy the treats related to foods and holiday specials, but to take them in small amount, make sure we're staying really well hydrated, and then to engage in the practices of stress reduction, mindfulness, meditation, getting the appropriate rest. So she's learned that.
And through this book, you're actually getting young kids and families to talk about this together.
Absolutely. I think one of the things we also have a misconception about is that high blood pressure doesn't affect young people. It's actually the fastest rising group of hypertension is being diagnosed in young people. So that is something that we have to be mindful about. Our behaviors now affect what we do and how we experience our health as adults. So it's important for kids and families to have the language, for kids and young adults to know that this is not an old people issue.
It's an everybody issue.
It's an everybody issue.
All right, Dr. Onika Williams, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, great. And her latest book, Dr. Didi Dynamo and the Hypertension Takedown, is available now. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at CityLine 5. And you can follow me on X at Karen Holmes Ward. Have a great afternoon.